Hey folks, Randy Gold, Trout Magnet Man here with you today. Didn't go fishing today. Gonna do a little rod review, talk a little bit about JDM rods. Gonna be specific one rod review on the Anglers Republic Palms Ejura 6 foot 4 inch extra ultralight with a solid tip. Now, I went fishing yesterday. I didn't upload that video. I didn't think most of you want to be seeing me catch a bunch of 5 and 6 inch bluegill. That's all I could get into yesterday. And this rod saved the day for that. Catching a 5 or 6 inch bluegill on this rod is a lot of fun. It's a whole lot of fun. Matter of fact, I stayed out in the water probably a good 5 hours doing that. Had it not been for this rod, I'd have probably come on home if I just had the regular ultralight in there. But this extra ultralight and this particular rod here just made my day for catching those size fish. This rod today can be delivered to your door if you wanted to buy one right at $170 from Digitaka. Now, as I always like to say when I'm doing these rod reviews and talking about JDM rods, you don't have to have JDM rods. I just like to put that out there. A lot of people kind of get upset, think you're talking about their rod they bought here in the States is not any good, and that's not the case at all. All them rods are good. The St. Croix, the Loomis, the Fenwick River Runners, they're all good rods. Japanese just take it up a different notch. They have much more actions, much more different actions. And so all I'm doing is just passing on some info about how these rods are, what they would be for, what they'd be good for fishing for, in my opinion. So anyway, this rod weighs in at 2.5 ounces. It has all Fuji components, stainless guides with Fuji SICK inserts. The butt of this rod is right at 6 millimeters in diameter. The tip of this rod, if you can see it, is exactly 1 millimeter in diameter. The lure rating of the rod is from 0.6 grams to 3 grams, which is not much. I can let you do the math. You can figure it out, but it's not much at all. The 3 grams is like 1/10 of an ounce. This is rated for a 1 to 3 pound test line. I use 2 pound max guaranteed. It means it will break at 2 pounds and no stronger, because I don't want to break this rod. Now, if you had a 4 pound line on here, would it break this rod? I don't know. If you had your drag crank down, a big smallmouth grabbed it, you might. I don't know. I don't have a clue. All I know is I keep within the line rating of what it says on these rods, and I haven't had any troubles at all. And I've landed with these different ultralight rods I've got. I've landed 5 and 6 pound smallmouth pretty regular, but I have the 2 pound test line on there, so it's not an issue. This rod is in a niche. I'm not quite sure. You know, it's not a high-end rod, that's for sure. Palms makes a rod that's a higher level than this. This is not a low-end rod. You can get a Daiwa iPrimi. That's a great rod. I got one of them I'm going to do a review on sometime down the road. But it's like $40, $45 less than this rod. This rod, I say it weighed 2.5 ounces, I think it did. And the reel seat on this rod is kind of like old school. We used to have here years and years ago. I think some people still use it, some companies. This has a double locking nut. It's 2 nuts. This is aluminum, and the ring is aluminum. The reel seat, as best I can tell, it's real wood. There's no doubt it's real wood. I think it's bird's eye maple. Anyway, it's gorgeous. If you can see that on the camera, it's gorgeous wood inlay there. Underneath that, for the reel seat, underneath that wood is resin, where this wood will not collapse. I'm sure that's a pretty thin piece of wood there, but anyway, there's resin under there. You can lock the reel down real tight. I'm kind of a fan of the double locking nut. It works out fine. I don't find that when I'm casting, I don't find that it loosens the reel. Casting this rod is fantastic. It's probably the best casting rod I have. I can cast a trout magnet with a 1/64 ounce trout magnet jig head and a size B split shot with a 2-pound line. I can cast it quite a ways, probably 60 feet. And this handles a 1/16 ounce jig. You can cast it a mile with this thing. And it's not necessarily because of the action of this rod. This rod is not a noodle. This is a fast action rod. You would think that, you know, the rods that are more whippy will cast further, but that's not always the case. It is the design of this rod. It's the guide spacing. It's everything about it. It's just a very well designed rod. I'm very impressed with this rod. Usually I would have ordered a high-end rod, since I started out buying Japanese rods on the low end. I went to the medium end, then I went to the high end. But I decided I just wanted to try some of the middle-of-the-road rods out of Japan. Now, in the States, this is definitely a high-end rod, no doubt about it. It'd be high-end in any store you go into, and it would sell for more than the $170, I can tell you that. Who is this rod for? If you're a bluegill fisherman, this will give you all the fun you want. Of course, if you're a trout fisherman, this can handle 13, 14, 15-inch fish, no problem. It can also give you a lot of fun on the 9 and 10-inch stockers. I know, because I've caught them. And I mean, it's just a blast to fish with. It's right up there, even though it's not even close to the most expensive rod I had. It's fast becoming a favorite rod of mine. Now, I would not want to take this rod out when I go to Fishdale Hollow. When I'm smallmouth fishing, I have a different ultralight for that. It's an aging rod. It's much stiffer. I just wouldn't want to. Now, when you're fishing, you're subject to catch anything. I just wouldn't want to go out knowing that was my intended target with this rod. It's definitely an extra ultralight rod. I've tried to determine, okay, when you go from ultralight in Japan to extra ultralight to super ultralight, just exactly what does that mean? Before I ever ordered any of these extra ultralights or super ultralights, I thought that meant that I was going to have a blank that was much more noodly, much more whippy. Well, that's not the case. It's the diameter of these blanks on the extra ultralight and the super ultralight out of Japan are much, much smaller than ultralight rods. And I need to do some more research to figure out just exactly what the intended purpose with extra ultralight and super ultralight means. I know it means you can catch smaller fish and you can have a lot of fun with them. I know that. I'm very well aware of that. But I'm sure they have a design standard as to what that's going to be, and I need to find that out. But this rod will give you a lot of fun. It's a lot of rod for the money, especially crappie. This make a great crappie rod. As I said, a great bluegill rod. It's designed for trout, so it's obviously a great trout rod. It's just impeccable build. There's no excess epoxy on the guide frames. No epoxy runs. I mean, it's just no lacquer runs. It's just a good build. Just a really good build rod. I find myself taking this rod with me out every time I go. I find myself fishing with it more. But if you're looking to get an ultralight rod out of Japan, in this case an extra ultralight, this rod, these extra ultralights more closely fit what you would consider an ultralight rod here in the States. Although most of the ultralight rods here in the States I pick up off the shelf, the last one I owned that I bought that I only kept for one day and gave to my son was the Daiwa Presso ultralight. It was like a noodle. I didn't even want to fish with it. I didn't fish with it. I just gave it to my son, which is odd because there is a Daiwa Presso rod made in Japan that's nothing at all like the Daiwa Presso rod that's sold here. It's not even close. Nothing about it is close. So when you're looking to buy ultralight rods, and you're wanting something, or you're wondering where it fits in the mold of U.S. standards, or what we have on the store shelves here, the extra ultralights and super ultralights are going to fit that bill more. Now, here's the thing. I haven't run into any super ultralights or extra ultralights with any length on. This is 6'4". I can't find a 6'4" ultralight or super ultralight or extra ultralight on Major Craft. You can get a 6-footer. I found some other rods at 6'2", 6'1", but I don't think you're going to find a 7-foot or even a 6'8" or 6'9" or 6'10" in the extra ultralight, super ultralight range. But this rod absolutely just saved the day for me yesterday. I mean, I even did a little trolling with this rod, and a bluegill hits this thing, it loads up nice, he gets hooked up, and the fight is on. And what amazes me about this rod is you pick this rod up, and while it's not stiff, it's not noodly, but yet when a fish gets hooked on this thing will fold up into a nice curve, and you've got a good battle on your hands. And that's just a great feeling. I've used this rod a lot, just in the short time I've owned it. I plan on using it more. I'm going to head out again Thursday and Friday, looking for, as most of you know, looking for whatever bites, and going to see what I can find. If I run into some bluegill, this will be what I'm using. The reason I'm assuming that they use aluminum components on here with these screws and this reel hood here is for corrosion. So you're not going to have any problem with corrosion. It looks like an anodized black finish. I think Palms calls it let's see what they call it. They call it a calm coloring aluminum, which that's translated with Google Chrome, which sometimes that doesn't come out right. But anyway, it's black. I'm sure you can see it on the video there. It's black aluminum rings, and then the screw rings are black aluminum also. This has some cross wrap, which they do a lot in Japan with a lot of their blanks in their action. I mean, it's not just a fascia look that they put on there. This is actually, in the butt of this rod, they get into cross weave with carbon fibers here, which gives the butt stronger strength. The blank itself, after you get past this section right here, the blank is a matte finish. It's a very dark, it's almost black, but it's matte finish. The thread windings are silver in color. It's a very pleasing rod to look at aesthetically, especially this wood reel seat. That's really a pretty piece of wood in there. The cork that they use has minimal fill in it. It's a good brand of cork. Cork. The AAA cork is getting harder and harder to find because they're using it so much for building. That's why you see a lot of fishing rods today using the EVA foam. Even out of Japan, a lot of them are using EVA foam. Cork is just becoming much more expensive, the good cork. You can still find plenty of the cheap cork, but the good cork is becoming quite expensive. So I would recommend this rod to someone who's looking to get into the ultralight fishing equipment out of Japan. Of course, it is extra ultralight. They make these rods in a light action. They make it in an ultralight. You can get a 6'4" ultralight. They do, and they make this in a 6-foot ultralight. And they make this in a 6-foot. Oh, that's the same ultralight. They make it in a 6'3" ultralight with a tubular tip. I just decided to get the 6'4". I like a rod that's between 6'4" and 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". Even though I have several longer rods, I don't really care for them. I don't know why that is. But if you're looking for some quality for not a whole lot of money, I mean that $170 is a lot of money, but it's not like spending $400. And there are the sensitivity of this rod. Let me talk about that. Area trout rods are not noted for their sensitivity. And when I say that, I'm comparing that to a Japanese aging and Maberu rod, a high-end Japanese aging and Maberu rod, which their first design characteristic is going to be sensitivity. That's why those things are made with 99 and 6/10, 8/10% graphite and only like 2 3/10% of resin in the blank, because those fish, especially the aging rods, those fish are tiny. They have a very soft bite. The point is you got to be able to feel them to catch them. An aging rod is super sensitive. A high-end aging rod is super sensitive, off the charts. I don't care what rod you buy here in the States. You can get, I think that, I forget the top end of the Loomis that are very light. I guarantee you they're more sensitive than them. But it's a completely different rod than this. I mean, it's but this rod, I was surprised at how sensitive this is. And when I said this had all Fuji stainless frames and SICK inserts, except for the tip. The tip has a titanium frame with a Torzite insert. That is to help, according to the manufacturer, that is to help for sensitivity. I couldn't tell you what it would be like if you had a stainless tip with a SICK insert. I don't know that. I haven't, comparing the two, I can't do it. I know that I love Torzite guides. I have several rods that are all Torzite guides, but they're a lot of money. Just a set of guides can run you on a spinning rod, can run you $130. But they save weight. They're more rigid. It's just, I really like the Torzite guides. But anyway, so those of you who are looking to purchase a rod, you may want to try this rod. If you're looking to get into ultralight angling, it's a very quality built rod. As always, it comes, yes, it comes with a warranty. I have a warranty card outside, but you got to send this back to Japan, and by the time you do that, and they determine did it, break because of your stupidity, or if it broke on a fish, which I've never broke a rod on a fish, and if they determine that it, didn't break on a fish, I don't know if they'd send you a new rod or not. I have no clue about that. They might. You don't know. But warranty, as I've said before, if warranty is important to you, you need to look elsewhere, because warranty is just not a feasible thing with these rods. But I love these rods. I'm going to continue to buy them. I figure I got, I don't know, until I can't do it anymore, I'm going to fish. I figure I got another 10 to 15 years, which, put me on up there in years. But I'm going to continue to buy JDM rods, probably a couple a year, maybe more. Reels, I'll be doing reviews on here, just to try out new things, new stuff. That once you go down this road, I want to put that word of caution out too, and I think I've done that before too in talking about this rod. If you start down this road, and everybody told me that, you're going to become addicted to these things. I didn't believe that. I believe it now. It's an addicting habit to get into. When you fish with one, you don't want to put them down. You don't want to go back to a U.S. domestic ultralight rod. That is the problem with it. And it's the same thing when you fish with a made in Japan JDM reel. You don't want to go back to a U.S. domestic market reel. You can immediately tell the difference when you take one out of the box and you start turning the handle. It's a big difference. Now, a lot of people say, well, what's the reel for fishing? Well, if you're finesse fishing like me and you fish micro jigs like me most of the time, you're fishing slow. You want that reel to be as smooth as it can possibly be. You don't want a little glitch. You don't want anything. You don't want any play. You don't want any slop nowhere. And it makes a difference when you're fishing. It makes a difference. Now, there was a discussion the other day, are you going to catch a whole lot more fish because you have one of these rods? Probably not. You may miss a few less fish, but to say that you're going to get one of these rods and you're magically going to start catching, 50% more fish than you ever did, that's not the way it works. It's just that these rods are so much fun to fish with, that and the sensitivity of most JDM rods, albeit not area trout rods, that's what people buy them for. It's just a lot more fun to fish with them, and that's hard to believe till you do it. Someone over at Tackle-Tour on the forum, it wasn't me, I'm copying their words. They said, you don't understand a JDM rod or reel until you pick one up and start using it. And that's true. I didn't understand it when I got into this. Before I ever made my first order, I said, I just want to see what all the hoopla's about. And it's something. And I found myself, starting out with low, then went to the medium, then went to the high. And the problem, let me say this too. If you go down this road and you buy a medium and you're very, very happy with it, and you don't know that there's any better, then stick with the medium line of rods out of Japan. They're fantastic rods, but I can tell you this, if you make that step to the high-end rod, it's going to cost you. You're going to want more high-end rods. And you won't want to put the high-end rod down. I started buying the medium rods like the first area trout rod I bought was the Trapera Major Craft. It was a cheap rod. I forget what the price was, $80 or something like that. And I liked it a lot. And so I started going up. And the next area trout rod I bought was a Major Craft Fine Tail Banshee. That's a high-end rod. It's $270. All Torzite titanium frame guides, extremely high graphite content. And I like that rod. I like it a lot. I have my eye on some other trout rods, area trout rods made by Veritas. Made by Daiwa, has some the Presso, but we're talking a lot of money for those rods. But for instance, this rod has 85% graphite content. I think the Daiwa Presso has 90. 8% graphite, something like that. The Varivis, I can't find out what their graphite content is, but it's high. And then you can get into the Daiwa area trout rods with the AGS guides, which are, I'm going to have to assume they're much lighter than titanium and torzite. But the problem, if you order one of those AGS rods with the AGS guide system, there's no one here that can repair them that I know of. Even though these are all first-rate components, you can get your rod repaired here. I have a ticked ice cube rocking drift 6'9" that I absolutely love for crappie fishing. I'm lost without it. I mean, it's just that good for crappie. It's just that great. An insert fell out, and it's a tiny insert. It's a size 3 torzite. I'm getting ready to order one out of Japan as soon as I hear back from them to make sure I'm ordering the right size guide. But I mic'd it out, and it's a number 3, which is a tiny ring, 3 millimeter. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope I've shed a little bit of light on this rod, what it does, what it won't do. If you have any questions about this rod, don't hesitate to ask. You can send me post it on the video, or you can send it to me at troutmagnetman@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions. But once again, this is fun. This is about as fun as it gets. I tried out the super ultralight fine-tailed banshee. Still really have not determined what is the difference between the super ultralight and extra ultralight. There is some difference, but it's hard for me to come up with it yet. I'll figure it out, and I'll let you know. But it's a lot of fun too. It's a whole lot of fun, but it's a shorter rod. It's 6 foot. Like I said, I like the rods from 6'4", 6 on up. So I hope you're out fishing today. I plan on going as soon as you can. I hope if you are fishing, I hope you're catching. Hope you're sore lipping them all. And always remember, folks, life is good.